It's May 29th, 12:45, and the meeting's called to order. And start off with the roll call. Do you have a list, or should we just go down?
It's on the minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Lucy Infante,
Present.
Mary Bender,
Present.
Richard Chamberlain,
My name is Erika Martinez. I'm here present on behalf of Dr. Richard Chamberlain.
Natalie Lewis, David Garcia, present. Angie Ancira,
Present.
Lauren Bluestone,
Present.
and Sandra Solis,
Present.
Cindy Reese, and Victor Lopez.
Present.
Do we have any, we have, and just for the record, we do have a quorum. Do we have any citizens' comments? All right. And moving on, approval of the minutes for April 30th. Do we have a motion to
April
approve the minutes, since we didn't have a quorum last time?
Oh, we didn't, right? I motion to approve the minutes.
Second? Any seconds? Chair will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. On the citizen comments, it says that Kayla Vasquez, the catch and release for dogs, was mentioned at the committee?
She called it in. Just that we didn't mention it last time since we didn't
But
meet.
for
her.
dogs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just, okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Any opposed? And the minutes will be approved.
Can I have the second motion over the second?
I second it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and now we move on to new business, and we begin with a hearty welcome to our new director, Lauren Bluestone. Welcome to Laredo.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know some of us talked to you during the interview process, but some of the other members who are present may not have. You may want just give us a little bit of a quick rundown of your history and how you ended up with us.
So I've actually been in animal welfare for probably over 20 years. I've done everything from being a kennel worker to an animal control officer for 7 years to operations manager to director at other facilities. So I bachelor's in zoology, I have a master's in criminology, and another one in public administration. So kind of covered the gambit in terms of education, and again, it's kind of it in a nutshell,
Yeah.
I guess.
Let me just say, it sounds like right now, just in judging your demeanor, you have a lot on your plate. When we met, even though it was over Zoom, there was so much energy and passion in your interview that I was impressed. And so, again, very, very happy welcome to Laredo, and we're really glad to have you here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. All right, we're ready to move on? Okay, who has the outcome on the cruelty cases and statistics?
Yeah, we brought those in.
Okay,
Even it.
can we hand them out?
Yes, your child.
My child. Come on, my love.
Are these the legal proceedings? Cases by the city, county, and the district attorney's office?
Yeah, it's basically the statics, not the
These are the investigations fired by you all, or not law?
Yeah, only us.
Okay, only
not-
you guys.
No, it doesn't
Okay.
go PD and the rest we just open it by monthly.
Thank you.
And the 40 cases we are running. But it
Thank
is like the whole race. This is our month. Yes. Externalization.
We have a guest, that's why I take so much.
A question, what, I mean, let's say, it looks like in March you had 94 investigations, and I look at the bottom of, or a little bit further down, it says total outcome, there's nothing there. I mean, what, can you enlighten us a little bit about what happens? You go out and investigate and find there has been animal cruelty, do you pick the animals up, or is that it, close the case?
Not always. We're not picking up animals always in each case. It depends on the severity of the cruelty. Because sometimes the cruelties is just like they don't have water at the moment or something like that, and we just issue a warning and advice and show the people. They need to tell the people that they need to have the animals with water all the time and give the food properly.
Do you all refer, can you refer those to like the DA's office or the county attorney's office?
We call PD in case if it's something.
And then they make the decision?
They
whether-
make the decision to arrest or not to arrest.
So is there a follow-up? Do you follow up on these cases? And
Yeah.
how,
They-
what's the timeline,
Has to be next week.
the following
So
week?
The following week.
And then after that?
After that, we just as needed,
As-
if it's needed, yeah.
And-
Most of the time, when there's a cruelty case, we don't need like 3 weeks. They
It's a
fix
surprise
it,
visit.
Okay,
between our-
surprises
Yeah,
are good,
because we
yeah.
cannot tell them that we're gonna be here next week because we need to see if they.
Right, how they're actually doing, yeah.
And what happened to the dogs that are very skinny? I have reported several dogs that are showing bones. They haven't been taken away from the.
No, I need to see the exact case so I can tell you because
And
we
this
receive
person-
a lot of cases.
And this person has been giving away those dogs
I don't have the.
and been
It's
roaming
okay.
around. We have reports and in Facebook, she's been putting the
Sorry, I don't see
puppies
it.
and putting the mommy in danger.
Okay.
I already had it reported several times, and she still has the dog.
We need to check that particular case, yeah. we need to-
And I have the videos. She's very skinny, and the puppies already have 2 months and a half. They're already eating by themselves. Even I witnessed that because I fed those puppies.
Okay, and like I told you, we need to check in that particular case because we do receive a lot of cases. I don't have that on the top of my head right now.
Since it's in Facebook or in the chapter 6, what is considered animal cruelty and it goes there,
Neglect.
right there, that dog. And the other one reported in the south has a lot of feces, no water. The water is in plastic containers, no shade on the water, and we have called police department and animal control several times. And would
Do you
have
know
everything
the
in
outcome
videos and
Do you have the outcome from the PD? PD?
PD said he went and, that the guy, the young guy, doesn't let them go to the backyard. Why? Because he knows he's guilty.
No.
I have a
They
video where the
don't-
dog is at top of the fence and she felt and hurt herself.
Okay.
And I sent everything.
I need to check that particular case.
I can send you
But
all the videos.
Yeah. But I need to check the case and I need to check the
There's
with
several
PD.
reports
And
on-
at the end of the day, if
against them.
PD decided not to do something, we can, that's just you do what we can just cite them. If they don't let PD go
Poor
inside the
puppies.
property, they're not gonna let us.
They're suffering.
But if
a
the
lot.
animal is suffering, how can
they're all suffering.
PD not go?
Yes, because PD has different procedure than.
And that's it, that's one of the, I mean, I know it's the last one in the items to discuss, but, now that we have a director in-house, maybe y'all can sit down and establish that, you know, because maybe PD are not really taking,
But last,
Or
one
because
of the
it's-
meetings they were here,
Yes.
they were aware of this and
Just
maybe we
blaming
need to
you.
bring them back.
But it's not their priority.
No.
They pass it
never
on,
disappear.
they pass it off. We have more serious crimes to address
Mhm.
than animals. And they classify them as
but remember that he
Disposable.
mentioned that they were gonna have or assign
a task force.
Yeah.
like a
But to
2-3
cover not
officers.
just animal cruelty, it covers a whole bunch
Right.
of
And they have
issues.
it, they have it, but I think the task force is more facing the code enforcement thing, not as exactly the animals.
Yeah.
They're going with vehicles in the right of way, all the.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Because we
not.
have them, one monthly meeting with them.
Can you get
about
a
the
search
task force.
warrant for that guy that keeps abusing his dogs
No, we need
and
to,
puppies?
we need to check, like I tell you, I need to check the particular case because I don't
Is
have
there
it on the top of my head.
multiple reports of that case?
Do y'all
that house?
have a good working relationship
With
with the
PD?
PD? That you can, you know, actually.
Most of the time,
Most of the time.
there's officers that they, like, in every department, they don't consider
This
things
is
like that,
an-
yeah.
an-
But most of the time, they work with us, working with us.
So I'm gonna kind of say something. I know that obviously, from what I'm hearing, there's probably two specific cases that you were most concerned about.
Yes.
Okay. We can definitely, again, this is my third day, so I have no clue about these cases. Like he said, we will definitely look into that. However, I do feel this is a great opportunity to kind of step back, not only build our relationships with the police departments, especially if a cruelty escalates above a certain mark, so that we do get them involved. But I do think it's also a great opportunity, and we kind of were discussing this a little earlier, to kind of revamp to see what we are doing and what we're not doing in terms of animal control out in the community. Because I hear what you're saying. I would love the opportunity to look into that. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity that we have here, and I do think that you have quite the team who is definitely wanting and willing to work in those changes to make these types of discussions less frequent. It's gonna happen. I mean, we're gonna, do what people do sometimes. But I think in the end, I know I hear you, these guys hear you. I do think that this is a great opportunity to kind of step back and reevaluate what we're doing, how we're doing it, and moving forward maybe in a little bit more of a efficient manner. But day 3. So give me just that opportunity to kind of get a handle on things a little bit more. But I do want you to know that I do hear you.
Thank you.
Day 2.
Day 2, two.
Day 2, yeah.
It seems like 3 weeks.
Well, at least you didn't.
I go often to the shelter.
Okay.
Yes. I go check on dogs.
All right. Well, I hope that we definitely have open lines of communication so I can, hear what you're saying and what your concerns are.
Thank you.
And that almost touches on the next point of new business is review of concerns regarding animal care operations. Any comments?
I think most of us, well, what I expect, you know, from LAX is accountability more than anything. You know, I'll back up, you know, LAX 100%, but it is very hard to back up the Laredo Animal Care Services when there is something, you know, that they cannot account for an animal. Well, the animal was dropped off, you know, it was picked up. There's no records. We don't know. That is when it becomes very difficult, you know, to back up anybody, you know, if there's no accountability. If an animal is already under our control, we need to know where that animal is. How long has the animal been here? This animal is already vaccinated, ready to be moved out or adopted. But if a citizen that lost a dog and it's there, and no, we saw that the animal was picked up by animal control, and then, well, we don't know where it's at. Those are the things, I think the concern, for me, the accountability.
Well, no, and I think it's twofold. I think there's an accountability for, you know, the leadership in terms
Yeah.
of training the staff and making sure that everything is followed procedure-wise. But I also think there's the accountability to get there, which means we do have to kind of look at the way we're using PetPoint, the computer system. You know, I had conversations this morning how challenging PetPoint is, at least for field operations. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have access to it just yet. So I have not been able to kind of discover how the animal flow through process is in terms of documentation with PetPoint. But I do feel that the tools are there. But yes, I think that there are a lot of checkpoints that still need to happen. But again, I think that in time, you have a staff that's like right on board, wanting to do all this stuff. I think that providing the tools in a way that's going to be helpful and provide a little bit more information in terms of the output, statistical wise. You're probably going to see a little bit of a difference, but I will be honest with you, PetPoint is a challenging program to utilize, and I know that they're doing their best right now, but I understand where you're coming from.
What other softwares have you worked with?
I've worked with Shelter Pro, Chameleon, and PetPoint, or Shelter Love, Chameleon, and PetPoint. So I've worked with the three big ones. I certainly have my favorite in my heart.
Which is?
It's Chameleon, but it's also got like 4 times the expense as PetPoint does. I understand. PetPoint's not horrible. It's really, really not. It's more cumbersome than anything else, and it's about not forgetting steps. Which, if you have to go tab by tab by tab, human error increases as you continue to go that route. Meaning that there are certain ways that you can input it to kind of prevent a lot of that from happening. It's just being able to play with the system and figure that out. But it is.
Don't worry,
really
I don't like
cumbersome.
PetPoint either.
Okay. Yes. Even though they merged, Chameleon and PetPoint are actually one company.
Well,
now.
they're the same company, yeah.
Sorry.
All right, any more discussion regarding operations? Next item is discussion with possible action regarding the adoption process for sterilized animals.
It was brought up before, but again, taking advantage that you're on board, the need to, before an animal is placed for adoption, that they are already spayed or neutered, in order for us to actually start making a difference when it comes to them not reproducing. We live, unfortunately, hopefully one day we will get to make the community responsible enough and that they see sterilization as a priority. But at this point, as you will see, our community, it's not helping. That's not a priority. And those of us that have invested time, money into rescuing, we can see it. Because there's more animals in the street, besides the animals that you all take in and that you have space for. There's a lot. The animals outside, they've multiplied. And unfortunately, our community, when it comes to cats, it's massive. I mean, you see cats all over, and of course, they multiply too often. And that doesn't help at all. So by us releasing an animal that is not sterilized, I mean, that one cat can do a lot of damage. And they're very cute to put them up for adoption because, yeah, people are gonna wanna go for the kitty and the cuteness and everything, but in 2 months, that cat may be able to reproduce, or 3.
It's because we're doing the foster to adopt. Like for today, we give an animal with the surgery today, and we wait till the next week so we can perform the surgery. That period of time is like they don't want us to give the foster to adopt without the surgery.
Okay.
That's the idea, right?
Well, the idea is to, yes.
Not to give
to
away any dog.
It's because, again, we're releasing an animal to a community that does not believe and does not prioritize sterilization. So, and the fact that, let's be honest, you are lacking staff. To follow up on this, it requires an individual to be on top of things. Hey, this lady's not back with a cat. A cat, you cannot restrain his, they're gonna you're gonna open the door and he's gonna escape. If they wanna treat him like a dog that you can walk around, no, they get scared and they run away. And it's just the chances that we are taking.
Okay.
Mhm.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. I'm pretty straightforward.
I'm glad.
There's a couple things. When you have to ask yourself what's the biggest risk, right? And I agree with you. I think that every animal that leaves a shelter should be sterilized. I really do. I think the challenge is not just staffing, but resources altogether, and especially when it comes to spay and neuter. The expectation that we have on the community can only go so far. We can only expect from the community what resources we have or what resources the community has. So it's very difficult and very expensive to get an animal spayed or neutered. And those are bigger picture things that later down the line we definitely have to look into if we want to resolve this issue. But putting that on the community right this second is challenging because your expectations are exceeding the resources available for them to follow that. With that said, again, I wholeheartedly believe, especially that is our responsibility. Reduce the population and especially reduce the population incoming in the shelter. But at the end of the day, the choice becomes: do you not do that, and do you start euthanizing for space? And do you start euthanizing because they're gonna get sick because of their? So it's a balancing act. Neither decision is correct. It's not. And this is me being absolutely 100% honest with you. But when it does come down to, do I put a little trust in somebody to do the right thing so I can save a cage space and maybe save 3 more animals? That's kind of what these guys face when they make these decisions. And again, potentially going over, because I don't know what the foster to adopt individuals are counseled, but potentially going over more items like that. Being able to dedicate maybe a specific staff person to do follow-ups, maybe a better way to navigate versus saying absolutely not, just because you will find your euthanasia rate is going to go up if the foster to adopt. And again, I came from old school. Like, I had heart palpitations when somebody was saying, "Oh no, it's okay. Go ahead. Like, trust the public." And like, I was like, "Are you kidding me right now? Whoa." That was like 15 years ago. Not like that now. But it took a lot for me to actually put trust, and I did. We were able to save a lot more animals that way. But that's kind of the cost benefit analysis that we're looking at. Which way are we gonna go? It's more euthanasias or a little trust in the public. And right now, again, it's not the perfect world, right? But it's definitely a solution that we have with the resources we have at this moment. In time, when we work on the spay and neuters and all that stuff, we're gonna probably have a completely different conversation at this table than we're having now. But I don't wanna sugarcoat it. That's kind of what we're looking at. And again, it does go against everything that a lot of animal welfare individuals know is releasing an animal without the spay and neuter. But again, I think there's a lot of things that we can implement to navigate through that, to make that a little bit less that we can, in order to kind of really focus in on life saving at the shelter as well, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. But we had talked about the weight of the animal, because they can sterilize a cat as long as they're 2 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And my question had been before, we were doing that at least, they were already the 2 pounds, they were already, we didn't have to wait until the 6 months or so.
Sure.
So at least, can we make sure that we're doing that, either call back if you're releasing an animal that is unaltered, that for them to come back.
Well, and I think that's also part of the conversation in terms of when it's fostered to adopt, that property, the animal is still the property of the city. So that's kind of a little bit of leverage in terms of, this is not necessarily your choice of what you want to do, but this is, again, educating the public in terms of what foster to adopt actually means. So during this time frame, no, it's not appropriate for the animal to just be let outside or whatever, because technically it is still now the property of the city. So it's kind of a give and take, but I don't know what type of counseling is done prior to the foster to adopt it. So please excuse me, I don't fully know, but I think that there is a little bit of a leverage there that we can kind of, because it isn't their animal just yet. When they come in to have the surgery, that's when the paperwork should actually be signed.
And that would be crucial.
Right.
Any other discussion or needed action? All right, moving on to point E, discussion with possible action regarding the review and clarification of rescue process, including tagging procedures and communication with rescue organizations.
Those were Ms. Ancira's concerns.
Yes. Sometimes emails are unread. They don't read them. And rescues are tagging the same dog. So we don't want that. Like, all these rescues are interested in only one dog, when we can move forward and tag another one, if they will read the emails and answer the question.
Okay. Here's what I have not even remotely looked at the rescue process just yet, or the email. Like, how is it filtered through? We've actually had we've had a lot of discussions this morning, these guys and I, and we are looking at better ways in which the public has communicative action to the shelter, because my understanding it's an opportunity is what it is. So we're definitely looking at specific ways in order to kind of streamline things and make things a little bit more efficient, to answer maybe emails a little quicker or voicemails a little quicker, or I don't know about answering the phone at time of ring just because of the staffing, but definitely getting back to individuals extremely quickly. And I do understand how the rescue world works in terms of, hey, put a dog on there and, you know, hey, if it's a cute little, if it's like one of those little things, absolutely, hands
Yes.
down, like, you're gonna have, and it is kind of like that first come, first serve, type thing, but again, you guys wanna move on to save more lives if it is taken by something else, so I do understand.
That's why sometimes I go to the shelter,
Okay,
because they ask me, go to see these dogs if they're available, I get the ID, I get videos and pictures and send them to them, but I tell them, I don't work there, I'm just volunteering and going to take pictures and all that. You want more information, send that email, but tag me on the email,
okay, okay.
but sometimes it's hard.
Sure, sure. No, and from what I've been seeing, I do believe that responsibility is like kind of held down by one person, and that's a lot of animals. And it is definitely a priority. The live outcome aspect is definitely a priority. So that is something that is going to be worked on. But I do. We've kind of talked about solutions a little bit. But coming from just one person to answer plus facilitating all that, it is a lot. It is a lot. And I
guess-
don't want to dismiss the really good job that that one individual is doing right now. Again, limited resources. We will be definitely more diligent and hopefully streamline processes so that this stuff doesn't happen. But I do ask just a little patience. Let me figure out what's the process, because I don't even know it. And then we'll work towards a solution, and possibly.
I have a solution, you need more people.
Well, that's easier said than done. However, with that
At least
said,
another one for rescue,
here,
where you're getting a lot of emails.
but here's what I will tell you. Those types of things, it's not controlled by us. So what I try to really focus in on are the things that we can control under the roof of the shelter. You know, that's kind of up in committees and all that. So we really want to focus in on what we can control. And right now, it's really about the efficiency of what's going on and try to kind of work through removing barriers and processes and process improvements versus immediately asking for staff, because I think that's a little, well, first of all, it's second day, not third. I might have got a person if it was a third day. But I think right now, focusing really in on what's tangible and what we can do is kind of where we're gonna, and then once we get those results, once we get all that stuff, maybe we can kind of throw in an ask here and there, but.
Because sometimes we get misinformation, even we take the paperwork, the vet records without information. So they ask us and they said, well, I don't work there, you have to call the shelter or email them. No answer.
Well, and again, I think as a process, you know, potentially putting a rescue packet together for each animal prior to, and you know, making sure that X amount of information, the one that is requested or needed, especially if there's something transporting like out of state, you know, to kind of do that prior to a rescue. But again, those are SOPs and processes that we're definitely examining, and these guys have done an amazing job examining stuff thus far. So we're gonna plow forward to hopefully improve that.
Okay, thank you.
And recently, there's been vacations, family leave. The staff is short, and it's impossible for one person to handle that. Plus, out of office events, adoptions, and such. So she's not Superwoman. She's trying to do her best, but she is not. Does not have 10 hands.
Well, and again, that's a lot of positions out there, and not just certainly with animal services. So we definitely want to acknowledge the effort that these individuals are putting in to their programs. So she's doing everything that she can thus far. But again, if we kind of refocus in on procedures, maybe it will clear up or free up time for this individual to kind of refocus. Because that's kind of the game plan right now.
Any additional discussion or possible action? All right, moving on to the last item of new business discussion with possible action on coordination with LACS and PD regarding enforcement of code ordinances related to animal care and control.
I think we already covered that.
Did we?
With,
Mhm.
yeah, when we
Under
talked
B?
about the outcome
Yeah.
of cruelty cases and stuff.
Okay.
So, it's something that, more things added to your plate.
On day 2?
We
We're
got it.
very hopeful. We had to throw all this in.
All right, so moving on to previous business discussion with possible action regarding potential grant funding for community spayed and neuter services.
I think Lauren is very well versed in grant writing
I am.
and has been very successful in acquiring grants. I have no doubt she can move forward with that.
The one thing that I will tell you, I will absolutely hands down, because I'm a firm believer in grants. Everybody likes a little extra money.
Yeah.
I feel we do need to kind of revamp where we're getting our statistics first. That way we have that way we're not going to lose the grant once we get it, right? So it's kind of the accountability issue. Once we get that kind of under control, the next phase would definitely be the grant writing. I just want to make sure that we can produce the numbers and
Right.
the accountability
Yes.
to complete the grant.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity,
Sure.
you probably won't have access to this information. Have any of our prior directors ever applied and gotten grants?
They did get well, I'm answering for Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah, as far as I know, the former director that we had applied for the one for Petco, the 75 grand that we are now using for the low-cost spay neuter. Yes, that's the only one
That's the one for the vouchers?
yeah, that one for the vouchers.
Yeah.
All right, well, any other further discussion regarding? All right, moving on to point B, discussion with possible action regarding shelter operation hours.
Oh, we did, last time we discussed the possibility of staying open later one day. And I believe, Ms. Solis, reinforced that by saying that their busiest hours were like between 4 and 6. And that gives some people that work to 5 a little extra time, and when we discussed the possibility of doing it one day a week and see how that goes.
So I agree with you.
Oh, okay.
But I want to make sure, again, this is kind of the data-driven type thing. I want to make sure we're accounting for which days we are the busiest. That way we know which day we should stay open. That way when we release it to the public, we're not saying, oh, just kidding, it's not Tuesday, it's Thursday. So I definitely agree with 1 weekday, but I also agree with 1 weekend day. So we actually kind of discussed that as well. There was a lot of discussion. But
In 2 days.
Yes. I don't disagree with that at all. I just want to make sure that, and again, I'm also a firm believer giving staff the time to acclimate to maybe a different schedule.
Of course.
I don't want to do that overnight. I want to make sure that they're comfortable with it and stuff like that. So it might not be overnight, but it's definitely like make sure which day is appropriate to stay open and give the staff an opportunity to kind of adjust their schedules accordingly.
Certainly.
So those are the two,
Certainly.
but I definitely want to add a weekend day in that mix.
Cool. That would be big for county.
That's bonus.
For
We asked
county.
for 1 day, we're
Yeah.
getting 2 days.
All right, any further discussion? All right, the last item is discussion with possible action regarding volunteers at LAX. Didn't we cover that for quite a
thought we
lengthy,
did.
Gilbert,
for a pretty lengthy period?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, we discussed having their parents, if they were.
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, that was covered. We do have, the last year, we did have National Guardsmen that wanted, we work a lot with National Guard volunteers. They wanted to come in to the shelter, walk the dogs, interact with the cats, and they were actually, they stopped coming because they were actually put to work cleaning the cat village. And that was not what had been discussed with the prior director. So that kind of flopped, and I know that the National Guardsmen would love to come back and be able to walk, play with the dogs, walk the dogs,
Socialize.
run with the dogs, yeah. So, later on, when you're ready, I know it's only day 2, we work with a couple of companies, and
Okay.
let me know, and
Okay.
then we'll put the word out that they're welcome to come and
Okay,
interact.
okay.
And at some point, you probably don't have a business card yet. I know that I preside over the adult drug treatment program. And one of the sanctions that we've started using now, apparently one of our director had reached out to someone, is community service hours as a sanction there at the shelter. So I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out.
Okay.
I have quite a number of participants, and sometimes when their offense is not that grievous, we'll assign them, and we've done the food shelter, we've done cleaning at the lake, but I know that just yesterday I sanctioned someone because we got authorization somehow. It might have been through you already the first day, but that I sanctioned someone to work 5 hours at the, and I'm just kind of curious to see how that works out. I'm a firm believer that you can judge a person's character, how they interact with animals. And there are people that have gotten out of some pretty hot water because they were animal lovers. So I'm kind of curious how that kind of turns out, because we may be able to, use it a little more if it works out well. And it gives me some insight into how well our participants are doing. It's a kind of a different program. I don't need to get into that, but I'm kind of excited that we're going to be able to do that.
I'm incredibly open to volunteering, any area. I know that I was even in the orientation when one of the young ladies, the orientation for hire, she works with the senior citizens. I was like, oh, well, you got people at your, like, come on. So like, I was trying to work it day one with a volunteer type stuff. So I am all about that. And I think that there are programs unique to different subsets of volunteering and volunteers themselves. And hopefully we kind of sit down and are able to create a program to kind of hit all those points. Because more the merrier in my book. And the other thing is, you have a group of individuals who are trying to really take care of the animals in the shelter, and certainly the animals in the community of Laredo. And you have 45? And your population is, in the 200,000s, almost 300,000s?
Almost 300.
Yeah, there's no way that 45 people can do that alone. So I'm a definite firm believer, the more people, please come on in, because everybody can use that one.
All right, anything further? And I know we kind of moved this along, but I do have a docket to get to. So, is there a motion that we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Any seconds? Second by Solis. And so, motion, hearing's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Don't have one.